I switched to the Google Pixel 9a, and after almost 2 weeks, I'm left thinking, why would you spend any more? For $500, you get great cameras in a solid and functional design, plenty of AI tools if that's what you're into, and incredibly strong battery life. It's the spirit of simplicity without too many trade-offs. This phone feels great in the hand. It's really nicely balanced. I know a lot of people were complaining about the design before they actually saw it in real life, but I think this looks great. I love the simplicity of it. I love that it's a flat back, so if you are worried about putting it on a surface and it wobbling around due to a camera bump or a camera visor, it doesn't do that. The 6.3-inch display goes to a maximum 2,700 nits, which means that it's really bright and easy to see in sunlight. Do know though that the variable refresh rate is not automatically turned on to the maximum 120 Hertz option when you pull this straight out of the box. So first thing I did was go into the settings to make sure I get the most out of that display. And sometimes I found the adaptive brightness sensor still hasn't quite learned my usage patterns, so I find that I generally do have to still go in and toggle it either up or down. Now, unfortunately, the phone's speaker quality is not that great. Now, this might not matter to you, but I definitely do on occasion use this phone to play either music or take speakerphone calls, not in public though, and it just sounds muddy and tinny. Now, I did have this experience with the regular Pixel 9 series, and I did want to just make sure that it wasn't me just thinking that it didn't sound great, so I did a side-by-side comparison with an older Pixel 7, and it definitely sounded better on the older phone. Now, being a Pixel phone, there is no shortage of AI tools, especially through Gemini specifically. Are they helpful or are they not? It's really going to depend on the type of user that you are. So within Gemini itself and Gemini Live, it now uses multimodal inputs like photos, so you can find out more information and have a conversation back and forth. But then there's an extra layer that is just rolling out to not only the 9a, but to other Pixel and other Android devices with a Gemini Advanced subscription that lets you share your entire screen with Gemini or even the live input from your camera. I'm still looking for the best use cases for this. It could say, for example, be you're trying to diagnose a problem with your car and you're holding the camera up to the dash to work out what certain lights mean. Maybe you're opening a drawer to try and find out what outfit you can put together, or maybe you're opening the fridge to decide what recipe to cook. There are still some very interesting quirks to Gemini. One might be to do with my accent, but I definitely ended up accidentally somehow having a conversation in Russian with Gemini Live, and I don't speak Russian, so I don't really know how that happened. But as with all of these AI tools, don't necessarily take what they give you as gospel. The Pixel 9a also has the same Gemini capabilities that let you string together multiple different commands to let you access information across apps. Say, for example, you want to find dog-friendly cafes within a radius of 2 miles that serve green tea matcha, and that you want to email that or you want to text that to yourself or a friend, you can do that. You can also do things like, say you have a smart thermostat in your house hooked up to Google Home. You can ask it things like what's the indoor temperature, or even to set the particular temperature before you get home. One of the main reasons people go for a Pixel phone over any other is, of course, the camera, and I thought what better place to test out some of the new features, including macro focus, than at a beautiful garden in spring. You are getting all the things that you know and love about the Pixel camera with the 9a. Accurate skin tones, really great dynamic range, and good color profiles. I've taken some great shots on this phone, and even with fast-moving subjects like dogs, pets, and kids, this phone does admirably. Now, there's two cameras on this, a 48 megapixel main rear camera and an ultra wide camera. And it's the main rear camera that now also supports macro focus modes. This means you can get really up close to subjects like flowers and things like that and get lots and lots of detail. I've got some really good results with this, but it can be a little bit hit or miss depending on the lighting conditions. And sometimes that artificial fall off effect can be a little bit too strong for my liking. But the best part is it also works in 4K video as well. The camera also comes with some other features that we've already seen in the Pixel 9 series, including Add Me and Best Take modes. I actually use Add inspired me a lot, because if you are the family photographer like me, you know that you hardly ever end up in the photos. There's also the reimagine tool within the Magic Editor. So once you've taken a photo, you go in, you edit it, you tap the Magic Editor icon, and then you can do things like using AI prompts to change the background, add elements that aren't there. Some of the results can be fantastic, and some of them can be scarily bad. Just like, I guess that's a metaphor for a lot of AI, really. And of course, this phone does take excellent low light photos thanks to night sight. Okay, let's see what nighttime video looks like, because we know the photos are great, but sometimes the Pixel phones haven't been exactly good at low light video. So 4K, 30 frames a second, kind of low light situations. Take a look and let's find out. Now by now you probably know that this phone uses the same Tensor G4 processor that is in the Pixel 9 series, and it has 8 GB of RAM, which is less than that series of phones. Does that really matter? Now in day-to-day use, I don't really think that you're going to notice that much at all. If you're into benchmarks, I am not your girl for that one, but let me tell you about the real world situations that I use my phone in. It's taking a lot of 4K video, it's editing a lot of that on phone, it's using some of those AI tools. Now, a lot of that is actually cloud-based, so the processing power of the phone doesn't necessarily reflect on how that is going to be performing. But overall, there has not been that much that I've thrown at this phone that is going to cause any kind of cause for concern, especially not for a $500 phone. If you are into more resource intensive tasks, say like phone gaming, maybe this won't keep up with you, but I'm not a phone gamer. So interested to hear what your experience is like. But I think for most people, that 8 gigs of RAM is not going to be an issue. But something that is an issue for a lot of people is, of course, battery life. And the Pixel 9a does have the largest capacity battery out of any Pixel phone. But how does that actually translate into the real world? Because as you probably know, the specs don't really tell the whole story at all. To do my real world kind of testing with this, of course, I start at 100% at the beginning of the day, assuming that you leave your phone to charge overnight. And I go through my regular day of using the phone. So let's like say 50% on Wi-Fi at home, 50% out on cellular and LTE and 5G. I'm also taking a lot of photos and videos. I'm using a few of those AI tools. I would get to the end of the day with about 4.5 hours of screen on time, and my battery level would be around, say, 50 to 55% remaining, which for the price, I was very, very pleased to find that as the result. With that typical usage, I can get to basically a day and a half before I get nervous enough and I want to put this on the charger. And that brings me to one of the pain points that I do have with the 9A, and that is overall charging speeds, especially on wireless charging. Now, if you are plugged into a 45-watt adapter, you can get maximum charging speeds up to 23 watts on the Pixel 9a. Now, it sounds like a lot. It's actually just, it feels really slow. I guess it doesn't really matter at all if you're charging your phone overnight, but I definitely would have preferred slightly faster charging speeds, and wireless charging particularly is extra slow, maximum 7.5 watts, but I've never been able to achieve that because I don't have the second generation Pixel stand. It's not Qi 2 compatible either. Even if it's better for the battery long term, charging slowly, it's still annoying. But specifically compared to the Pixel 9 series, what you don't get on the 9a is that newer modem. Now, this may or may not make a difference to you depending on things that are variable, say like your network area, what network you're attached to, and things like that. I found on Google Fi in San Francisco and the Bay Area, it's been great, it's been reliable, there's been no overheating issues, anything like that. But I think the most important thing that that modem does not supply, that I think might be worth paying a little bit more if you were going to more rural areas and you're worried about not having cellular connectivity in an emergency, is SOS via satellite, because you won't get that capability on the Pixel 9a. So yes, there are many other phones within the same price range as the Pixel 9a that might do more on paper. But you really have to come back to the core reason why people buy Pixels, and if you've made it this far in the video, I think that's probably you, right? Number one is having a great quality camera, and number two, you want as close to a stock Android experience as possible without all of the extra bloatware on top. And maybe point 2.5 of that is extra AI features. But again, I'm still not 100% convinced of how useful they might be to everybody. So I think that's like a nice added bonus rather than a must-have at this price. And 7 years of OS updates. So hopefully this thing will stand the test of time. A quick disclosure, the phone used in this review was provided to me for review by Google. The company had no input into the editorial of this video whatsoever. Me, 100% my own thoughts went into this, and the phone will be returned to Google after the review period has ended. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.